At a modern organization, I have never seen one design system to rule them all. Like, I just think it's improbable that that will actually take into account the use cases. I'm working with a company now that has multiple devices that they need to support, right? So they have Android devices, they have tablets, they have iOS, they have web, they have all sorts of apps. And so it just doesn't make sense that they would have one design system, because how can you have one design system that serves both Android and iOS? I mean, you can't. Like, there are some things that are common though, because their shade of red is the same shade of red that they want to have on Android and on iOS. But that header component, like just the code alone, is very different. And even the design approaches on an Android device versus an iOS device, the conventions are different. The Apple HIG is very different than the Android guidelines, right? So for usability on those devices. So even just the usability approach is different. You can't have a common system there. So anyway, the short version of that is, so what we have is a system of systems. In the center of those systems is design tokens, right? Here are the shared colors that every app, regardless of device, regardless of screen size, regardless of technology, are going to share these colors and these typefaces. But there are no components in that central system. And then all of the Android apps do have a system that have some components in there, and also additional design tokens for additional colors specifically for Android. Same thing on the iOS side. So I think altogether, we've got something like 16 different systems, that all are connected and tied to each other and essentially act as a series of overrides on top of the central system. One of the ideas, I think it was Nathan Curtis that sort of pioneered this, and I use this a lot in my work, which is the idea of expansion packs. So any given app can inherit and use the central system, that's like, okay, here are our major colors, and then basically add expansion packs to it to say like, okay, we also want the Android expansion pack, and then we also want the dark mode expansion pack, and then we also want this, pixel density expansion packs. So those systems all become additional dependencies that do work with each other. And the challenge there is architecting it in a way that you don't have unnecessary overrides. That's the complexity, is figuring out how they all work together. And that's what makes it a system, is the fact that they're connected. So all to say, trying to create one design system to rule them all, especially at a big sprawling organization, I think is a little bit improbable. So a system of systems approach is harder to architect, but I think is a worthwhile goal there.